So, some of the users on our social media heads, we've gotten some questions from them for you, Todd, and we also have some questions from ourselves. And yeah, so let's just get into the first question. Kind of a little short one. So, how did you discover Chaz's music? So, Chaz, Toro Y Moi, aka Sins. So, how did you discover Toro or Chaz?
I heard him on the internet on a blog for the first time back in, I guess it was the summer of 2009. And, another case where it's like I heard it for the first time and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And literally, like, I emailed him within like a day or two of hearing his music, for the first time. And he wrote me back and we started talking a lot and kind of had a, you know, got along really well and decided to start together.
But you guys just put out the new Toro Y Moi album, which I guess that's probably gonna be probably your guys' biggest release of the year, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Because Toro's gotten like a pretty big fan base, thanks to co-signs from guys like Tyler the Creator and whatnot, and which I think he was actually on Tyler's album, correct?
You mean the one that just came out?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I know they worked together. I'm not sure exactly what's on that record. I haven't heard it yet.
I don't think it's an official feature, but I think Tyler said he was on the album. Like, I think on like one, I think maybe it was fucking young. I'm not sure, but yeah. So, which I still need to listen to the new Toro album because I've kind of heard like mixed things about it, but like I still enjoy his music, and I loved Lay Sins last year, which I think did not get the appreciation it deserved, by the way, because I was like listening to them like crazy whenever it came out, because I think it's just like really fun. And it just kind of got like by critics, and not many people were sort of like listening to it. I'm like, what are you guys on? Like, this is great. And the fact that he did put out another album like 6 months later is a testament to like he's basically like a workhorse basically when it comes to music, because he's constantly putting out stuff from what it seems.
Yeah, I mean he's been working really hard this year, working a lot, and I think he's gotten to the point now where he's got enough fans that are just gonna follow him around. So it's like a bad review or here or there isn't going to be make as big a difference as like if he was just starting.
hmm So, so I guess we'll go on to the next question. Let's see. So, does he have any? So, do you have any advice on starting a record label? How long was it before you could do it full time?
I think he did it for 2 or 3 years before I started doing it full time.
Well, give us a history of Carpark, like just a quick,
Yeah,
like,
just summarize the whole career.
it was just like important dates,
Just
etc.
highlights.
You give a drunk history because you said your brain turns into mush around 9.
Yeah, I'm starting to lose it. That's why I'm having trouble forming sentences now.
Give us a mush history of Carpark Records, please, Todd.
It started in New York City, where I was living in the late '90s, and I was working at a friend's record store, and there were 3 or 4 of us who were working there, and we decided to start this like experimental electronic DJ night, and we did a weekly thing, and we started bringing in live like laptop artists, which was like a kind of a new novel thing at that point. Like no one was, like software was finally being made and it was affordable, and laptops were becoming powerful enough to where like people could actually, it's like you don't even think about it now, but it was like a totally new thing then. And so no one else was doing that in New York City then, so we were bringing in these people to music, and it seemed like a lot of them didn't have any kind of like professional label putting out their music, and I really was into a lot of the music. And so, I was in my mid-20s and trying to figure out what I should do with my life, and decided that maybe now was a good time to start a record label.
Did you go to college?
I did.
What kind of degree do you have?
I've got a bachelor's in radio, TV, and film.
All
And
right.
Nice, nice. I'm going to join you on that soon.
master's in media and culture.
Nice, nice.
So
So
very
the other
much.
question, yeah.
So we were bringing in these people to play every week, and I asked two or three of them, I'm starting a record label, can I put out your record? And that's kind of how we got going, and been various phases of the label over the past 16 years. We moved down to the DC area in 2005. Became heavily involved with the Baltimore music scene that was going on around then, and now I think we're just kind of whatever floats my boat kind of label.
You just want to be able to put out like records that you enjoy, and just kind of want to share them with, like, give them like a bigger audience than what they do. Maybe they just like self-release it, or they put it on like a different label, where you want to give these artists like the freedom to be able to make music they want to, and have music you still enjoy at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, related to one of the questions that you ran past me earlier before this started, in terms of the label having a sound like that. When the label first started, I felt like it was very decidedly. I was decidedly like trying to have a sound like this, like kind of like electronic-y digital. People use the word IDM, which I wasn't a big fan of, but that kind of like electronic music sound. And after a few years of that, I kind of like got tired of that, and started branching out and like incorporating more like analog and digital kind of sounds and music. And then by the time I moved down here to the DC area, I was just like, I don't think anyone cares like what the label sound is, like no one's going to be upset if I put out, a folk record or a metal record or anything. Like, I'm the only person who's hung up on this whole thing. So I just decided to put out whatever I wanted at that point, and it's been, a lot more fun that way, I think, anyway.
I think it's interesting because like one of the other big DC labels is Discord, and they've kind of done the exact opposite. They put out a variety of stuff, but they're kind of doing that whole punk local thing. And I mean, obviously, that's what they're known for. That's their philosophy. But it's interesting, like there's this dynamic between that. There's like this Discord's about like we're gonna create this scene, but yours is just like it seems like you made the conscious decision, like, yeah, I'm just gonna put out the music I like, whatever genre it is and wherever it's from.
I didn't grow up here or anything, so I don't have like just grew up around here and have history to the city. Whereas even though I've lived here for almost 10 years now, I still feel kind of.
Yeah, I get that.
It's interesting that you talked about like having sound, just because like I know personally, me as a listener, I don't really like when I'm hear about an artist or I like listen to an album, I'm not really thinking about the label too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think really most people who listen to music care about the label. It's like when you, like myself, I work in the music industry. Like, it's kind of like this thing where people who work in the music industry are always thinking about labels and bands and stuff. But like, people just hear a good song and they want to buy it or listen to it or whatever. The last thing they care about is who put business put it out.
Right, exactly. Because we're part of the r-Indieheads podcast on the subreddit, and like there's a big discussion of what indie is, like if it means that it's independent record labels or if it's a certain style. And I think that the most consensus that it's a certain sound that we like rather than the exact label.
Well,
like
originally was a rather dry way of explaining, like it was like music that was on an independent label, and I think over many years it became this kind of lifestyle,
right?
And
because like one of our favorite bands as a collective is Radiohead, and they're probably one of the biggest bands in the world. So it's not really exactly a cut and dry thing, really, anymore.
Yeah, because like in the time where the term came about, it was more like it was before Nevermind, so like it was completely different in that.
Yeah, that album changed the game for that.
Yeah. The book Our Band Could Be Your Life kind of shows really well how like before Nevermind there wasn't an indie or alternative section in a store, and as much as I hate the term alternative, like
there was an alternative section, there wasn't an indie section.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, my bad.
I grew up in that time period. So, I know, like, I remember kind of like around like 92 or 93 when like indie rock kind of became a term, I think right around then, like when Sebadoh put out, just give me indie rock. Like that was when, in my experience at that time, was like the first time someone was really like using that word to mean something. And before that, it was just like, underground rock music, or if it was like some like major like band trying to, was like alternative or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Um,
you were around when Nevermind came out, so like, was that actually as big a game change? Like, I don't think any of us were born, so like, did that game album itself actually change the game? What do you say?
I mean, yeah, it was a really big deal. I was entering my freshman year of college, like right when Nevermind came out, and I knew a friend who when I got there, and we bought tickets to see Nirvana play at the Cabaret Metro in Chicago like a week before Nevermind came out, and there was like a mile of people wanting to get in the show for like 2 miles down Clark Street, and it was just like people were on our college radio station were playing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" like nonstop, and then finally like MTV started playing it, and people were like, "You can't play this song anymore; it's too big," and it's kind of like became a huge record that it was.
Right, very interesting.
Started playing arenas and big festivals, and I mean, I just didn't really think, when you're living through it, you don't think like it's a game changer. You think it's just like, oh, here's this band that was on Sub Pop toiling away in obscurity for a few years, and now all of a sudden it was like huge band, and it was just, I guess, the first time really that like that kind of like underground band really kind of became huge. It was kind of the beginning of that whole alternative rock period of the mid '90s, where like all the big labels were trying to cash in on finding the next big band or whatever.
mhm.
There's this. We'll get to the next question in a second. I'm sorry, but I just read this interesting article about like the weirdest bands that were signed to majors in the post Nirvana boom, and it was just kind of interesting. Like Drive Like Jehu was signed to a major. Actually, Drive Like Jehu was signed to a major, and then Rocket from the Crypt was John Rice's like, oh yeah, I also think that you should sign my other band too. So that's kind of interesting. And there's just a bunch of weird. That's just kind of a weird era. Like, cause
Yeah, I think most bands, were trying to did that sort of thing then. It was, I was a music director at our college radio station for a couple of years, and like just the amount of product coming through, was just like too much. Like, we would be adding like 40 or 50 records a week. Just like there was just so much stuff. And, obviously this is like before the internet, and then just, getting like all these CDs and records is like too much to listen to. And there's like all these bands that people were trying to push on you. And, definitely there were, the mentality then was, it was, they had like the whole sellout mentality at that time where, like you get like an indie band who signed to a major label, thought they were trying to do the next big thing, that they were, a sellout or whatever. So, and deal with that kind of backlash.
So we should probably say those questions were from user / Mr. Cereals. So let's see. Do we want to go on to the next questions, Ethan?
yeah, definitely.
So I had two questions. So what are your thoughts on the recent rise of vinyl and the issues that come with it, like the lack of pressing plans, which I've heard about a decent amount, where like there's only like 6 or 7 pressing plans right now, like major ones, I believe.
Yeah, there's not too many of them. I mean, our distributor does our manufacturing for us, and they only deal with a couple places, so our selection is even smaller. And yeah, the main company they use in the States is like, they're basically, yesterday we were told like they were like dealing with October releases now, and it's April, so it's like, how can you plan or at least 6 months in advance? It's just like ridiculous. So we had to, the Speedy Ortiz record was printed in the Czech Republic because it was quicker to do so. We weren't gonna make our release date.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see it here. So we're doing that with a few other releases as well. The quality's good, and it's not a big deal. Just that's just what the situation is now with the demand and the production levels being so high. I mean, we've always done vinyl ever since we started the label, so it's not really like a resurgence for us, so to speak. We've always been doing it. It's just it seems like it's been more of a hassle to make them because then it takes longer to repress them, and the band puts out a new record, we want to make sure that they have their old records in print so they can do them on tour and stuff, and we start right away and it's like 3 months and the record's still not there, and it's just like a bummer. I have to tell a band that one of their we can't give them titles for one of their records because it's like held up in production and stuff. So
I really appreciate that you put that much effort into the reissues, because it can be really frustrating when you're trying to find something and you can't get it just because you have the resources are all there, and I mean maybe you don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but you're like, I just really want this product, and it could be there. But I understand that it's hard, but I appreciate the effort you try to put into the reissues.
yeah, I mean, we try and stay on top of it. Like I said, it's like as soon as you're going to put out a new record, 4 months ahead of time, you can like, okay, I need to repress this record and this record, and it's still not ready. Like by the time the new record comes out, it's just
yeah.
So
it's just you have your logic in your brain. You have to like wire how you think. So you have to think 4 or 5 months out. Typically, a couple of years ago, we needed more records. We would just we get them a month or two later. It wasn't a big deal.
Because I feel like that's a big struggle with like certain artists nowadays. Because with the internet and whatnot, everything is like we have to have everything like right now. Like it's so fast paced, and it's just sort of like it's like this. I need this now. Like I don't want to wait for anything. And we've seen bands like Death Grips who have just surprise released albums just because they can, and they want to be able to get their stuff out there as as quickly as possible to fans. But also, of course, because of this, you may be like losing sales and whatnot. Which actually, that's going to kind of lead into my next question. Which, like, what are your thoughts on like streaming services like Spotify, or I guess Tidal, which recently launched and kind of has been very controversial for its advertising campaign and sort of it being kind of considered a flop right now, which I think is kind of a little bit overrated. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely a big struggle for artists. Like when because you're saying like you have to tell them like, oh, we can't get this album out like yet because we're still waiting for all the vinyl to be pressed, or still waiting for like this stuff to come in, which I feel like that definitely has to suck for the artists. Where it's just sort of like you want to be able to get your art out to your fans as soon as possible, but you're limited by basically just by like just because vinyl research has been great and I love vinyl, but at the same time though, like the music industry hasn't like it's like, oh yeah, vinyl rival, great, we'll just have like really overpriced records and whatnot. But at the same time though, it's like, okay, why don't you like start making more initiatives to like make more pressing plants, because we've seen it keeps going up like every year. So it's just sort of like at a certain point where like I'm just kind of waiting for the music industry to decide to go, okay, maybe you guys should start creating more.
Did Will just deflate?
Oh yeah, Will, you okay, buddy?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
Tip top.
Okay.
I didn't lean back.
I don't think I think the problem is that it's such a very technical process that a lot of people don't know about, and you can't just make a record pressing plant. Like I don't think there's people who can like make them anymore, and they just basically have to rely on like finding presses like in an abandoned warehouse somewhere to make more plants. I think that's part of the reason why there aren't a lot more plants, and it's just it's a risky proposition to
which I can see that, because some people may consider vinyl right now to be a trend that may die out soon, which we really kind of have no idea at this point. Or it could keep rising, but at the same time though it could go down, which is sort of which is unpredictable, which is why I probably see why they're not starting another pressing plant. I imagine that process is very difficult, but it's just sort of like if it keeps going up, hopefully there'll be some more pressing plants that'll pop up, and be able to get music out there faster to the fans, and yeah. So again, to my next question. So what are your thoughts on like streaming services like Spotify and Tidal, Pandora,
Google
Radio,
Play,
Google Play? Is there any others? Last FM, I guess, to an extent.
RDO.
RDO,
RDO.
yeah.
YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. YouTube's gonna basically sort of like a streaming service right now.
Beats Music. No, wait, that's dead.
Oh yeah, rip. Press F to pay respects. So what are your thoughts on the the rise in streaming services?
I don't really have a very interesting opinion. They're fine. They're there. It's better than somebody downloading them for free, I suppose. There's not a lot of royalties for us from them.
What do you think about a label like Drag City who doesn't put any of their music on Spotify? Or do you just still have the same kind of like nonchalant kind of opinion?
I mean, that's their prerogative. That's cool if they're not into the politics of streaming. That's fine.
Yeah, I get that.
So are there a lot of politics like with the labels and the companies like Spotify?
Sorry?
Is there a lot of politics that we don't know about going on with that? That makes it more difficult.
I mean, there's stuff you can read on the internet. Like artists that don't like Spotify, or certain labels say they don't like it because of devalues music, and the musicians and labels don't get their fair share of royalties and that sort of thing. So there's definitely arguments to be made, but I don't really know what can be done about it at this point. It's like it's there. They're getting bigger. I don't think not participating is a very useful protest, I guess, really. But
I just saw that Spotify is valued at more than the whole music industry. Unless I misread the headline.
I think it got a couple of misleading title tags and like
Oh, really?
whatever was posted, but like I think if it's not bigger, it's close to like how the money of the music industry right now. It's got, at this point it has to be like really close, if not bigger, than the music industry.
I don't buy music anymore. I mean, I don't know. It's like, what's the point of buying music? I can, have a Sonos player. I can listen to like any kind of music whenever I want for free. It seems like it just seems like it's slowly becoming an old mode of music consumption.
Yeah.
More and more people will be streaming music instead of downloading it.
I mean, I can definitely say that streaming has helped spark my interest in music. Like, I definitely would not listen to as much or be as passionate about music as I am right now if it weren't for streaming. So, I mean, if that's... Like, I can't speak for the business end, but I know that as a listener, it's been very helpful.
Yeah, it's definitely convenient.
Definitely.
So, do you want to... you're covering an inside joke. Okay.
Well, basically, we have an inside joke on the subreddit where there's a theory that all indie musicians and people involved in the industry are fans of Mexican food. So the question is, are you a fan of Mexican food?
Yeah, just as much as the next guy, I suppose.
Yeah, does anyone not like Mexican food? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, like...
I don't like all Mexican food.
I mean, yeah.
Because I voted... Whenever we had the poll or like the survey, I voted for American food instead of Mexican food.
I did Japanese, I think. But let's move on.
Let's not get into that. Let's go on to the next question, which is from Hi, I'm John, who's a member of the podcast.
Who's his pretty big fan of Speedy Ortiz, also DC local.
So when you sign acts, are you able to tell which ones will be more successful than others? And if so, do you look especially for that type of artist?
No, I mean, signing a band and running a record label, I always feel it's a bit like gambling. It's can never really tell what's gonna take off or sell and what's not. You just kind of have to follow. Well, at least I do. I just kind of follow my gut or my instinct.
Well, do you ever sign artists that like you don't particularly care for, but a lot of other people in the industry and people on your team are a fan of that you think could make you money?
I'll only sign something if I really like it. I mean, I guess there's certain types of music I know won't sell a lot just by the nature of it, of the type of music it is, like if it's some like weird experimental record or something. But there's been numerous times where I've started working with a band who I thought had a sound that could be very popular, and then just kind of fell flat, and no one was really interested. So it's just, I guess sometimes you can, there's sometimes I sign a band kind of out of nowhere, no one's ever heard of them, and it's more of a risk, I guess. And then other times you start working with a band that's already gotten written up on blogs, and maybe there's some kind of like buzz already, and you have a good feeling that maybe like this one will do a little bit better just because they already have something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So also, John had a few more questions. So have you ever been surprised with the personality of an artist after listening to their music?
I don't know if I would say surprised. I'd like to think, we're lucky. Most of the people we work with are pretty good people. So not a lot of drama.
That's good. That's good to know. No indie beef on these record labels.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of stuff. Super.
So let's see. We'll do this one last. Let's see. So if you could sign one act, living or dead, signed or unsigned, who would it be?
I mean,
it's a tough one.
The easy answer is the Beatles, I guess,
Yeah.
because they just make you the best money.
Yeah, I mean, where to start?
Again, you just hope that you may have gotten a demo tape from like some artist that like it's gonna blow up in a couple of years, and you're like, we can make some money off of this demo tape. Which I think I remember. There's someone on our subreddit who works at Jaguar in Secret Canadian, and like he said in a thread somewhere that they actually have an arcade like demo, like an Arcade Fire demo somewhere in the old up. Like I think they moved offices recently, and they had an Arcade like Fire demo somewhere. So you just kind of hope you stumble upon like something like that randomly.
Yeah, I think probably 12 or 13 years ago we got a Grizzly Bear demo for Paw Tracks, but yeah.
Ooh, that's very interesting. That's gotta be kind of like oh damn, we missed out on these guys. Which I want to kind of have like a little improv question. Has there ever been like an artist that like you had a chance to sign and you kind of regret like not doing so?
No, I think usually we typically work with people we want to sign. Well, I mean, I haven't really been occasions where like we want to sign someone and we haven't been able to.
Or have there ever been like artists that have like eventually left the label? You're like, I kind of wish they stayed on the label because I guess if you're okay with talking about it, of course you guys signed Beach House initially, and now I think they're on Sub Pop, I believe.
Yeah, it's always sad when bands leave us for other labels. I wish it wasn't the case, but not much I can do about it. Except plead and beg. Sometimes bands stay with us, and sometimes they don't. That's, I guess, just the way it is.
Because I feel like because bands they have to kind of think for themselves at times, where they kind of have to decide, okay, so what's best for us, and maybe they'll have to lose some people, but hopefully you guys still have a good relationship with Beach House, and it wasn't like a bad split whenever they moved over to Sub Pop.
Yes, to talk to Alex every so often.
I mean, of course, you also help them get their start, so I think they're probably, eternally grateful to, have had a label such as, as your label to be able to at least get their, head start.
Yeah, definitely. Some good times.
So who was the one artist that truly inspired your passion for music? Which is another question from John.
Artist who inspired my passion for music.
You could say artists if you can't narrow it down. I can't narrow it down, so
I'm not good at answering this kind of question.
Like maybe who was like the first artist that really got you into music? Like, okay, this is something like I really want to be passionate about.
No, I mean, I've got a fairly unexciting musical taste growing up. I listened to Duran Duran when I was like 10 years old. They're like my favorite group. Thompson Twins. And then I went through a phase of listening to like R&B music.
Who are some of your favorites in R&B?
I was listening to like Cameo and Anita Baker. And then when I got to high school, I was like, oh man, I just started listening to like classic rock.
Naturally.
Started listening to alternative rock, like REM, Smith, New Order, and that kind of stuff. And then became, an indie rock kind of person in college, and then started listening to dance music, and so kind of all over the place.
So let's see. I guess we're going to the final question from John. So let's see. Where do you hope to bring Carpark in the future?
I don't know. It's going pretty well right now. So just kind of keep things moving as we're going, and hopefully keep finding more and more successful releases. Is the goal of any label. That's how we keep going. Is finding good music.
Nice. Thank you for coming in and doing the interview with us, Todd. The song of the week this week is Speedy Ortiz, Raising the Skate, off their new album Foil Deer, which we all approve. It gets the R Such Indieheads podcast seal of approval.
Are we going to give it a head rating?
Head rating. So Todd, we instead of doing the normal ratings where it's like like something out of 10, something out of like 5 stars, we do a head rating, as in our rating has to relate to the head somehow. Anything involved with the head, skull, brain, face, etc.
So you give an example. What is your head rating of Speedy Ortiz Foil Deer?
My head rating for Speedy Ortiz Foil Deer is a let's see. It is walking in the park and hitting your head on a pole and then having someone help you up, and it's a really cute girl. That's my head rating for Speedy Ortiz Foil Deer.
Okay, I have mine. Do you guys know the cover art for Like Clockwork by Queens of the Stone Age?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so there's the guy with the lightning bolt whose face is kind of like leaning back, and he looks kind of angry, but he also looks, there's kind of some joy. There's some kind of like bliss in his face. And that's my review.
Will?
I'm going to go with my head and thinking, is this math rock? Either way, I like it. But is it this math rock?
So, Todd, do you have your own head rating, or do you just want to stick with the traditional ratings?
You could just say it's good.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to say anything bad about your record. I'm guessing not.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. My brain's like starting to stop working.
That's head.
I think I got it for
so
Todd.
That's my.
Yeah, that's your head-related review. That works.
My brain is mush, but it's still pretty great.
It's not working.
But again, once again, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Todd.
It's been great having you on, doing the interview. Had some great answers for these questions, and thank you to the community for giving us some questions, and some of the people on the podcast for also having some questions. And so yeah, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.